WTOP, Hillary Clinton has selected Virginia Senator Tim Kaine as her running mate, and how this selection will impact Clinton in the polls is now the big question. WTOP's Mike Murillo discussed just that with polling expert John Johnson. He's with Edgeworth Economics and the author of the book, Everydata.
The vice presidential picks gets a lot of attention, but it doesn't necessarily always translate in the polls. I mean, Virginia is an important state. It has 13 electoral votes. It had been reliably Republican in 8 of the last 10 elections, but the important point in both 2008 and 2012, it did go Democratic. So in the current polling, there have been 3 polls in the month of July. Clinton was ahead in 2 and tied with Trump in 1. So it's still close, still a little bit of noise in the polls about what this could mean. Tim Kaine's approval rating in the Senate, at least for the state of Virginia, is at about 53%, which is fairly positive. So could make a difference. It's that historically, vice presidential picks don't always make a big difference, but if it's going to make a difference, it's going to be in the state of Virginia, most likely.
Before the selection of Tim Kaine, there were other names out there, Mark Warner of Virginia, also Elizabeth Warren. Any idea where Tim Kaine falls among the possibles when it comes to the polls?
Well, there was an interesting poll back in June where they sort of ran the hypotheticals for Virginia voters. If Elizabeth Warren was selected as the vice president, what would be the matchup? And the voting was 47-43 in favor of Clinton. When they did a Clinton-Mark Warner ticket, it was 47-43. When they did a Tim Kaine ticket, it was 47-43. So again, a little bit more evidence that it may not really matter that much who the vice presidential candidate is.
Now let's turn to the Republican National Convention. A lot of polls out there this week during the convention to try to give the world an idea where people who are following it stand. What did you see?
The kinds of polls you generally see around the convention that sort of give immediate feedback are flash polls. And so, for example, CNN did a poll this week right after Donald Trump's speech, and turned out 75% of speech watchers viewed it very positively. 56% said they were more likely to vote for Trump after the speech. But these are exactly the kind of polls we have to be very careful about interpreting, because of course, you have to, if you want to know what people thought of the speech, you have to ask the people that were actually watching the speech. But on the other hand, the people that were watching the speech were more likely to be Republican and supportive of Donald Trump. In fact, even before the speech, 60% of the people in that survey said they already had a favorable impression of Donald Trump's policies. So it's a little early to really tell what the consequences of the convention were. But the historic evidence, at least in recent years, is that the conventions really don't give very big bounces. If anything, they tend to be small increases that offset when the other convention occurs.
Once again,